So, I'm going to talk to you now about entering in mini learning experiences into Salesforce and all the processes that go with that. Not many of you actually have to do this, but those that do should know the full process. When you log in, you may end up on any random, what we call app. If you don't remember the apps, go back to our first training on Salesforce for beginners, but choose the app that is for the ECC specialists, and that will give you access to our field trips and field trip visits. So when we're talking about mini learning experiences, they used to be called field trips. That language still exists in Salesforce, and I don't expect it to change because it's nice and short as opposed to mini learning experiences. So the difference between these two tabs is one is about gathering information about that month's theme, and one is about the actual visits. So when you create a new field trip, aka mini learning experience for the month, you'll be entering it in under the field trip tab. Remember, right here are your different views. You can click down and simply select all. Instead of creating a new one, I'll show you one that's created for previous month, and this is colors. It doesn't ask many details at this point. Basically, it asks for the name of it, when it's starting and ending, and that's about it. Anything below this, number of children, number of visits, is actually calculated automatically. In fact, if I went to edit this field or this record, I wouldn't even be able to edit these. And you can tell really quickly by that by looking at these pins. These are editable fields, none of the rest are editable. So once you create it, you can go into related and you can see all the visits we had for this field trip visit. Easiest way to add in a reservation for a field trip, and by the way, I highly recommend that as soon as you get off the phone with someone, you enter this in to schedule, whether or not you've had it, and then you can always go back to this record and update it. So let's say we just got off the phone with somebody who wants to schedule a field trip for the Colors 2021, which happened in September 2021, which is past the date. We're doing this as an example. We're just going to click in here and click new. First thing it asks is the visit date. So, for example, I'm just going to say that they have scheduled it for this Thursday. Classroom name. So if you hover here, it tells you if it's a family childcare home, just enter in FCC into this field, FCC. Now, a lot of cases you'll be working with centers, and centers have multiple classrooms, and so they may have colors as names or numbers as name, well, or even toddler 1, for example. Number of children. Now, obviously, if you're scheduling it, you're going to do an estimate of 20. Please remember to come back and update that if that's not the correct number after you give the visit. Field trip topic automatically included. Organization, this is what's very important, is so we know where it's at. We're going to use my organization at this point, and the contact, oh, I used one that doesn't have contacts. You know who has contacts? Jason Moma. There we go. We want their teacher in there. So before you actually do this, please make sure that you've entered their teacher as a contact in here so you can make sure you have the right teacher name. Number of minutes, you obviously can't do that as part of the reservation. That's why it's not required. This will be something that you absolutely need to come back after you've completed the field mini learning experience and enter. Down here, scheduling information. So right now, Mandy, Mandy does most of our mini learning experiences. And she may need to know to arrive 20 minutes early, and that there are multiple classrooms in one setting. Now, many learning experiences, we allow up to a certain number of children before we start charging more. Many learning experiences are free for our members once a quarter. So January through March is 1 quarter, so forth. So anything outside of that, we charge. Anything above a certain number, we charge for. And you can always find that in our price books on what those levels are. I'm gonna click save. So now it exists. Here we go. We have Jason Moma in the Toddler 1 classroom, and that's really weird. That says last modified by Caroline Teeter, but we'll figure that out later. So let's say you've gone to the visit. You can find it again by going back to your field trips and going to colors and going to related and finding it there. Or you can just go to field trip visits. And in this case, recently view brings it up. If it doesn't bring it up, you can always go to any of these options. Again, it's a custom list. I can create one for you, but I'm going to go straight into the record. Here's what we just did. And let's say I just did the field trip and only 10 children showed up. And that field trip lasted 45 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and save. Okay. So you'll see a few empty fields here right now. And here's the reason why. Is because field trips are funded by United Way. And with United Way, we have to do 2 evaluation tools. One of them we suggest doing on-site with the person. Mandy is currently using a paper copy and then coming back and entering it in. You can also give them the link to do it. Either way, the link can be found by copying the link address, or if you get the paper copy, just click Complete Survey Now. This is the survey that's done immediately after the mini learning experience is completed. I'm going to take you through it real quick. When I click the link, it's right here. It says, I have learned how to apply this topic to the following subject matters. Now, the important part is select as many as possible. We hope to see at least 3 selected. This is critical for our funding. So go through this list, ask them what they've seen, and we want to see at least 3. I'm going to go ahead and put 5. And well, once I did 5, it automatically took me to the next question. How would you rate children's knowledge on the topic before the event? So guess what? The next question is going to be after. We want to see a 2-point difference. So if you're talking them through this evaluation, tell them that in order to show that the event made a difference, we have to see a 2-point difference. So they may feel like they knew everything, 10 points. But if they actually learned something, then this should be more in the 7 or 8 range. So we want to see 2 points difference. In this case, I'm going to fill out those many dots. Automatically ask me after the event. After the event, we expect to see more dots. So in this case, I'm going to put 10. Now it starts to ask some other questions about the field trip. How do you rate the specialist in these cases? In this case, knowledge of subject. Great. Organizational skills. Awesome. Helpfulness. Perfect. Performance with children. We have great specialists. All right, so this question is about usefulness of materials, because you do give them materials when you're on this. In this case, for yourself and or your coworkers, and then for your parents, and then obviously the children. This is not a required question, but if they have other ideas for topics, because we change topics every month, they get the option to choose or put in here, and maybe it is pumpkins, just because right now it's October. All right, so when we have a mini learning experience, it's a great opportunity to really push some of our services, especially our library. So we want them to say yes, that specialists encourage them to use the library. And obviously, if we're talking to them, we want an updated referral listing, their vacancy report. So we hope that before the specialist goes out, they check to make sure that they've had a recent vacancy update. And if not, we want them to take out the material, the printout, to make sure that they can update the referral listing before they leave their facility. And we're just going to say yes. Were you offered technical assistance during this visit? Is something else that they're asked. So basically, while you're there, you're going to probably identify topics to talk to them about, whether it be, some children misbehaving and how to deal with that, or maybe their arrangement and so forth. So I don't ever expect to see this as a no. I expect to always see that you have worked with them beyond the scope of just providing information to the children, and we say yes here. Obviously, if you do technical assistance, you're going to enter that separately. So I'm going to click yes. And then obviously rent the event overall. Would you be willing to write a short testimonial? And then finally, how likely are you to recommend us to a friend or colleague at a 1 through 10? Let's just say a 7 today. Any other additional comments? And that's the last question. Oh, other than how many children attended the event? Click submit and submit. Now, when you do that, automatically, let me refresh, it does a few things, okay? So first of all, it'll give us an activity. It'll say someone did their evaluation. Again, that can be them doing it. It can be you doing it for them. It'll also tell you a new score right here, field trip change score. Basically, it is pulling from that evaluation to share what the change score was. So basically, children knowledge before, children knowledge after on that report. If you wanted to really see it, like if you didn't do it for them, you can actually click into your related field and see some of the responses right here, not all the responses. If you need to see all the responses, like you feel like you had a problem, I can give you access to that. So you'll notice that children's score degree of change is still blank. And that is because that is what we use for United Way. And technically we have to do that 30 days later. Now, the way Salesforce is supposed to work is that it will remind you to reach out to them to do that 30-day children's survey. We've been doing that over the phone, but you can call them and say, complete this survey via email. You can literally just copy the link address and email it to them if you wish. The children's survey is a lot shorter, is really just focused on children's skill prior to event. Again, this is one where we want at least 2 points or 3 points difference. So if they're telling you it was a 10 and then a 10, that does not provide a 2 or 3 point difference. Instead, we want to see a lower number and a higher number. And then it once again asks how many children attended. And if the children did not improve or it's low, they have an opportunity to share why. It's not required. Submit. Very short. And ultimately, and I've noticed it takes a while, if I refresh, oh, here we go. It shows that they did their children improvement survey, and this number is now updated. That is the extent of the field trip and or mini learning experiences in Salesforce. Again, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. Mandy is also very familiar with this and can help you as well.